today I really want to be positive this morning. And I've been seeing a few stories in the press and in the electronic media as well that are really inspirational, Dennis. And it concerns the results from the external exams, CSEC and also PEP.
Yes.
And I've just really been inspired by these particular stories. So this time of year, every year, we always are celebrating, the top boys and top girls and those who passed 10 exams and 16 and 12 ones and all of that. And I mean,
how much CXC? How much you did CXC back in? How many?
8.
How many? I have 7. I didn't pass physics.
Yeah, same one. I did 8.
Yeah.
I failed physics.
Okay.
So I have 7 passes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to those who take on a whole bag of CXCs, a whole bag of exams. I mean, it's a lot of pressure for a young person, and you do sacrifice a lot. When I see stories with people passing 16, I'm like, how do you even...
I'm sorry.
That's double the number of subjects that you take in school.
One of my brightest friends has 5. He took 3 one time and 2 the other time because that's what his grandmother could afford.
You see?
And his name is George Davis.
You see?
Yeah.
Look
and
at
he's
that.
not ashamed of the fact that he has 5 subjects.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. But where I really wanted to go with it this morning is the stories that are emerging of the students who have done exceptionally well in the face of real adversity that have been coming out in the past few days. And these particular stories, some of them I remember when these tragedies occurred because they were heavily reported in the news.
Yes.
Yesterday's front page story in The Observer, for example, was about, it's titled From Tragedy to Top Boy. And I remember this story so well. This was the boy who was walking with his mother and his siblings when the mom's ex-boyfriend just came out of nowhere and chopped them up. And the
yes, I
mom
remember that.
and I think one of his brothers died. And he was severely injured in the attack as well. He lost several fingers from one arm. And he has a horrible scar across his face. And so seeing the follow-up now is really heartwarming because you hear of these stories, you read of these stories, and from time to time you may wonder whatever happened to that child who survived that horrendous attack, who lost his mom, who lost his brother. And he is 12-year-old Jamarly Jackson. So the story starts. Last year, August, Jamarly Jackson suffered a most horrific experience. The then 12-year-old Linton Park all-age school student was walking home with his mother, brother, and sister when they were attacked by the mom's ex-boyfriend. The man who was armed with a machete chopped the woman to death, then turned on the 2 boys, severely wounding Jamarly and killing his 10-year-old brother. Their sister, who was with them, was unharmed. So fast forward to June this year, and the results for the first cohort of grade 6 students who sat PEP were released. And among the shining stars was Jamarly, who emerged as the top boy at his school.
Wow.
The top boy, So it says, although the tragic event lingers in the minds of the Jacksons, Jamarly's academic success is something they're ecstatic about, as you would imagine. His dad is beside himself with pride and joy. He says, I got trophies for science, language arts, ability testing, and social studies. That's all the subjects, isn't it?
Yeah.
He told the paper, he said that while he's not yet sure what career he'll pursue, he's aware that education is important. He says, the struggles of my life are motivation for me. Sometimes we don't have the money to go to school or food to eat, but I use that to push me, he said. And then the dad said, my children motivate me and make me stronger. I have to live for the 2 of them, and I have to be strong for them, he said. And this story really put a huge smile on my face yesterday, seeing the photograph of the dad and Jamarly and another young lady. This might be his sister, I'm not sure. All smiles. Just a year or maybe less than a year after that tragedy struck in St. Thomas. I'm just so proud of a young man like this and of a story like this. There was another story in the paper yesterday as well. Another young man, this time at the CSEC level, he lost both of his parents just before exams. And he got 10 distinctions.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. 10.
To lose both of your parents.
Especially at that critical time.
Like, how can you even focus during a time like that? And to still just ace your exams. And not just ace it, ace 10 CSEC subjects. So this young man's name is Nathan Walker. He's a student of Campion College. And his mom actually died last year, just before he sat CSEC math in fourth form. So he did the math a year early. And then his dad passed this May, just as he was preparing to sit the bulk of his subjects. And he said, with two parents gone, I just felt more alone than ever. And he actually writes for the paper as well, for the teenage edition. He said, the loss of both parents then made my life even more difficult, as I had to stay with my aunt and uncle. So he's displaced among this entire situation as well. He's not in his normal environment. He's grieving. And he says there were also funeral preparations happening smack in the middle of my CSEC exams. And there were times when I couldn't get to study for some subjects. So imagine if he did study. But that did not stop Walker from attaining grade 1s in CSEC biology, English language, English literature, mathematics, Spanish, French, history, economics, information technology, and ad math. So it's not the subject either. These are difficult subjects. It says after his mother, Sharonette Walker, succumbed to complications from asthma last year, Walker was so devastated that he stopped attending his math classes for a month. He said it also became increasingly difficult to focus on doing anything, and I did not have the drive to do anything, he confessed. But Walker still managed to not only do well in CSEC math that year, but topped his group in Campion's internal examinations. And then he could not anticipate that just over a year later, he would be grieving the sudden death of his father, too, who was his tower of strength in his mother's absence. As the only child for his parents, Walker had to stay with his aunt and uncle as he prepared simultaneously for his dad's funeral and his most difficult exams. I mean, these stories are tearjerkers, if ever they were some. Like, these stories brought a tear to my eye reading them. He said, I'm not entirely sure when or what, but something just clicked in my head. I knew my parents always dreamed of celebrating with me getting all ones. Even though they're not here physically anymore, I decided I would do everything in my power to let their dream come to fruition. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
It just goes to show that you can overcome.
You can overcome.
And you don't have to be defined by the circumstances that face you. If you have that determination, if you have that grit, if you have that stick-to-itiveness, you can achieve.
And you can use the adversity to motivate you as well.
Exactly.
So different people grieve in different ways. Some people can use the grief to motivate them and just pour all their energy into focusing.
And I mean, not everybody's like that. Not everybody is like that. Not everybody grieves that way, but there are many who do.
Right. And then the third story that caught my attention, this one was in the paper last week, was about Seaforth High School in St. Thomas. This one touched me because, remember, this was the school the art department burned down just before CSEC.
Yeah.
And I know, because my daughter does art, I know how much work goes into preparing those art portfolios. It is months and actually a couple of years worth of work. And they had to do it all over in time for CSEC. And the story is entitled Seaforth Rises from Ashes with 100% passes in art.
Wow.
So they all passed art, despite losing all their work like a month or two before CSEC. And they profiled this one particular young man, Ryan McDonald, who received a grade 1. And He's obviously ecstatic over it. They showed some of his pieces as well, which are like gorgeous pieces of art. When you say works of art, these are works of art, and he had to do these at the very last minute to make up. So congratulations and major big ups to all those people. I mean, to everyone, of course, who, put in all your hard work, sweat, and tears in your external exams, but especially to those who have overcome whatever adversity it is you've been facing in your life over the past year, over the past few months. Major respect goes out to you. That's what's on my mind.